It's a glorious day, September 2nd, 1945. The war was over, and we had won. All of the death and struggle are over. People paraded all over the streets as their war heroes returned. But only 2 years later, another threat made itself apparent. The spread of communism was growing because of the influence of the Soviet Union. The United States got scared that their way of life could be disrupted. That is what started the Cold War. Why had the Cold War happen so soon? Part of the reason can be traced back to the end of World War II. There were two major turning points during World War II that marked the end of the war and the beginning of the Cold War. But let's start at the beginning. World War II started in 1939 and lasted until 1945. The two sides of the war were called the Axis and the Allies. The Axis consisted of Germany, Italy, and Japan. The Allies had France, Great Britain, the United States of America, and the Soviet Union, just to name a few. Italy and Germany became partners because they shared a common enemy and were both pacifist dictators that were mad at the outcome of World War I. As World War II started heating up, Germany and the Soviet Union signed a non-aggression pact, which stated that if Germany invaded Poland, Russia couldn't attack, but Russia would get the two eastern thirds of Poland. Then, Germany and the Soviets invaded Poland, even though Hitler knew that Britain and France would declare war. Hitler did all this so he wouldn't have to fight a two-front war. Germany's next target was France, and at this point in World War II, it looked like World War I was going to repeat itself all over again. But to everyone's surprise, Germany won its war against France, and World War II continued. Just a year later, the Japanese attacked the U.S. in a devastating bombing called Pearl Harbor, which brings us to our next point. Pearl Harbor was on December 7th of 1941. The Japanese bombed our biggest harbor at the time, destroying 20 American ships, 300 airplanes, and killing over 2,000 people. The Japanese did this to threaten the U.S. into lifting the sanctions, but all it did was make the U.S. mad. The Japanese failed to destroy all of our ships and any of our repair shops, so we made a quick rebound and officially joined World War II. The next point of interest was D-Day. D-Day started on June 6, 1944. For the past 8 months, an invasion bigger than ever seen before was in the works. At the time, Germany had all of France, and the Allies were going to invade a place called the Atlantic Wall, a 2,400-mile-long stretch of land filled with bunkers, landmines, and other obstacles. After a few long-fought battles, the Allies started winning. By August of 1944, France was liberated. On D-Day, more than 11,000 aircrafts were used, along with 5,000 ships, and also 156,000 Allied men landed on the beaches that day, and there were over 4,000 deaths, and 2,000 of them were American. Unknowingly, we had just started the Cold War. That is because when we finished World War II, two different superpowers came out victorious, and they had two different ideologies, one being the US, and their belief was capitalism. The definition of capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit, whereas the second ideology was Russia's belief in communism. Communism is a belief that all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities. America got scared that Russia wanted to take over the world, and so to stop the spread of communism, the Truman Doctrine was made. The Truman Doctrine states that any country that is threatened with communism will get military aid from the U.S. But what would have happened if the U.S. had never stepped in?